Welcome to Writing Together We Are Better video training. This is a review course for the writing test of the national examination in the English language. My name is Ene Alas and I'm an associate professor at Tallinna University. And I will be talking you through this training. During this training, we shall be talking about many things. But it is important to emphasize at the very beginning that the training is about the writing test. So we'll be talking about the writing test structure, the writing test task descriptions. We shall think about how to complete these tasks. We shall also consider how the writing is marked. And towards the end of the training, we'll try and review some of the things to remember during the writing test. At the end, I shall also try to answer some of the students' questions. Before we start talking about writing, let us look at the national examination and the English language structure in general. The national examination in the English language has 4 papers: writing, listening comprehension, reading comprehension, and speaking. The writing paper has 2 tasks, and students have 90 minutes to complete those 2 tasks. They can get a maximum of 25 points for this paper. The listening comprehension paper has 5 tasks, and students have 40 minutes to complete that paper. Again, 25 points can be scored. The reading comprehension paper has 7 tasks, and students have 90 minutes to finish all those tasks. The number of points available for the reading paper is 30. The final paper of the national examination in the English language is the speaking interview. The speaking test has 2 tasks, and every student has 15 minutes to complete those 2 tasks. And the examiners can give up to 20 points for this test. The national examination in the English language is a long test. It takes all in all 3 hours and 55 minutes to complete it. And the maximum number of points available is 100. Once again, this video training is about writing, the writing paper. The writing paper has 2 tasks. In the first task, a student has to write a semi-formal or a formal letter of 120 words. In the second task, the student has to write either an essay or a report. And the length of the report or the essay should be about 200 words. Let's look at both tasks in some detail. In the first task, while writing a formal or a semi-formal letter, the student will have to write a letter in answer to another letter or an advertisement that he or she is interested in. Or you have to try to solve a problem and write a letter in order to do that. Maybe to complain about something, or to apologize for something. So the task will describe the situation first. For example, it may show the advert that you are interested in, or it will describe the problematic situation. The task will show, for example, what is it exactly that you are interested in about the advert. Maybe you want to get a summer job in England, and you want to know when it starts, how long it will last, what the pay is, and so on. Or it may tell you what your complaints are. Maybe you ordered something online, and instead of one thing, you got another. So you may want to complain to the company and look for some sort of action to make things right. The task will also say who you are writing to and how long your letter should be. As we've already said, you're expected to write about 120 words. You're also reminded to use a pen name in your letter, so don't use your own name. A name has been given to you, so use that while writing. Let us look at an example of task 1 in your writing test. So this is what will be in front of you. It says task 1 and tells you how many points are available. In this case, 9. It tells you that you should write a letter, and the situation is the following. You recently bought some clothes from an online shop, but some issues occurred. The issues were about item quality, wrong size, and wrong color. Now, you are supposed now to write a letter to the customer service representative of the shop, complaining about the issues, saying exactly what was wrong, and requiring action. The task reminds you to use the pen name Marimets or Martmets for yourself and not to write any addresses. There is also the reminder about writing 120 words. Before you start writing, look at the task carefully. Think about what you're supposed to be doing. So, you should be complaining about a piece of clothing that you got, maybe about a t-shirt. Then think about all the different points that you should be writing about. That is item quality, item size, and item color. Give examples of what was wrong with them. Was it not the material that you expected? Was the size large rather than small that you wanted? Was it white and not black as you expected? So give details about each of the points. In the description, the examiner has underlined particular expressions which will be important when you plan your writing. For example, here, the expressions complaining about the issues, saying exactly what was wrong, and requiring actions have been underlined. So make it a letter of complaint, saying that you're not happy with the item that you got. We already talked about giving details about what was wrong. And then requiring action. What is it that you want? Do you want your money back? Do you want your t-shirt replaced? So think about what you want done. Let's go on to consider what makes a good letter. When you're writing a formal or a semi-formal letter, your letter should have 3 parts. An introduction, where you say who you are and why you are writing. In the main body of your letter, you cover all the points. As your task was about a t-shirt, quality, size and color, this part of your letter should cover these points. Discuss each point in some detail. Give examples. Don't be very laconic. And the last part of your letter should be a conclusion. Here you either restate your main points or give an opinion. So with our example, you should probably say, to end, I'd like to say that the t-shirt that I received was not what I expected. And then, if you want any action taken, say it clearly here too. So now you say what you want. For example, I'd like the shop to reimburse the money that I spent ordering the t-shirt. Another important aspect that we should consider when we think about letters in English is how we begin and end our letters. And that depends on the type of the letter. If it's a formal letter and we don't really know the name of the person we are writing to, we start our letter with Dear Sir, Dear Madam, or Dear Sir or Madam. A comma after it, and then the letter. In this case, we finish our letter by yours faithfully, comma, and under it our full name, first name and family name. In this case, of course, the pen name. It may be that we are writing a formal letter, but we do know the name of the person that we are writing to. Then we can include the name. So we say, Dear Mr. Smith, or Dear Mrs. Reed. Again, a comma after it, the letter, and then the ending. Now the ending should be slightly different. If we know the name, we end with yours sincerely, comma, and again your full name. If it is a semi-formal letter, so for example we are writing to our neighbor about a problem that we want to be solving, we start with Dear and then go with the first name. Dear John, Dear Mary. A comma after it, the letter, and we can finish with Best regards, comma, and only write the first name. If we're writing an informal letter to a family member or a friend, then of course we start with Dear plus first name. The ending is less formal too, so we can say see you soon or best wishes. Please remember that in the context of the national examination in the English language, you will probably not be asked to write an informal letter. The task is usually about a formal or a semi-formal situation. How are letters marked? The maximum number of points available for the first task is 9. When the examiners are marking your letter, they are considering 3 aspects: task completion, vocabulary, and grammar. With task completion, they are asking the question, Has the student covered all the points? With vocabulary, they are thinking, how wide is the vocabulary? Is the student using the words correctly? With grammar, the question is, how complex is the grammar? Is the student using tenses and aspects correctly? For each aspect, the examiner can give a maximum of 3 points. The second task in the writing paper is either the essay or the report. Let's talk about essays first. The essay task will first tell you the topic. Under the topic, there will be a short explanation of what you should write about. And the task will also remind you how long your essay should be. The second task is a bit longer. It's 200 words. Here is an example of task 2 in your writing test, the essay. So it says task 2. Now the number of points available is 16. It tells you that you are supposed to write an essay, and the essay topic comes. In this case it is, should smart devices be banned in the classroom? And the explanation, write an essay discussing the advantages and disadvantages of using smart devices in the classroom and expressing your own opinion. You should write at least 200 words. When you start planning your essay, look at the topic carefully. What is it that I'm supposed to be writing? Smart devices, yes. But not just smart devices overall or in general. Smart devices in the classroom and banning smart devices in the classroom. This is the focus of your discussion. So don't talk about smart devices in general. Think about classroom use and whether it's a good idea to use them there. Another thing to do is to look at the description very carefully. Again, some of the expressions have been underlined. Here it is the advantages, disadvantages, and expressing your own opinion. So, when the examiners are reading your essay, this is what they will be looking for. Is the student discussing the advantages of banning the devices? Is the student discussing the disadvantages of banning the devices in the classroom? Is it clear what the student himself or herself is thinking? All these 3 things need to be present in your essay. Let's look at what makes a good essay. A typical essay has 4 to 5 paragraphs. The first paragraph is the introduction. The introduction starts with general comments and ends with the main statement of the essay. If we think about our example, your main statement may be, for example, there are more advantages than disadvantages of banning smart devices in the classroom. So this is your main statement. This is what you put down in your introduction. In the next paragraphs, 2, 3, 4, you discuss what you said in the introduction. So the body paragraphs discuss the different aspects of the main statement. Each aspect is discussed in a separate paragraph. and the ideas are connected together with linking devices to make it smooth and easily readable. In the context of the national examination in the English language, the essay is probably not 5 paragraphs long, so there are probably just 2 body paragraphs. With our example, the first body paragraph is probably about the advantages of banning. And the second body paragraph is about the disadvantages of banning the smart devices in the classroom. Make sure you have paragraphs. This adds to your essay. It makes it more professional. Your essay should end with a conclusion. That's the final paragraph of your essay. A conclusion usually starts with a concluding signal. To sum up, in conclusion, all in all, but you know a lot of different concluding signals. And after that, the conclusion sums up all the ideas that you have been talking about in the body. Usually, no new ideas are added in the conclusion. The second task in the national examination writing paper is not always the essay. Sometimes it is a report. This is a different kind of writing. The task now will ask you to look at some data, some numbers. There will be a table, a pie chart, a line graph, or a bar graph to look at. And then you should write a report about the information that you see in this table or pie chart or line or bar graph. The information is addressed to an international organization. So in your report, you'll have to do 2 things. First, describe the important features in the data, and then give reasons for the situation or recommend what should be done to change things. You do not need to decide yourself whether it is giving reasons or giving recommendations. The task will tell you whether to do one or the other. The task will also tell you how much to write. And like with the essay, it is 200 words. Let's look at an example. So it says, Task 2, 16 points, report. The European Youth Forum is gathering information about what students in different countries did after they finished school in 2016. Look at the table below, showing data about the plans of school leavers in Estonia in 2016 and their actual choices. Then some choices are given. University in Estonia, vocational school in Estonia, study abroad, work, gap year. These are some of the things that students plan to do. And then you see some numbers about how many people actually plan to do it. And the proportion is given in percentages. So, for example, about 70% of students in Estonia actually plan to go to a university. There is another column of data right next to it. This shows what actually happened. Again, percentages are given of how many people actually chose that. So, for example, 70% of students plan to go to the university in Estonia, but actually 67% of students did so. On the basis of the numbers that you have in front of you, you are supposed to then write a report to Jenny Smith, representative of the forum, describing the situation in Estonia in 2016 and giving reasons for the two biggest differences between plans and reality. You should write 200 words, use the pen name Marimets or Martmets for yourself if necessary. Again, before starting to write, study the task carefully. So a few expressions have again been underlined. In your report, the important thing is to describe the situation. And the other important thing to do is giving reasons for the two biggest differences between the plans and reality. So what's important is that you don't actually need to write about everything in detail. You need to describe the data in the body really, but giving reasons only for the two biggest differences. You have to find out what the two biggest differences were and then write on the basis of what you find. The task also says that you are supposed to be using a pen name. This is similar what you were supposed to do when you were writing a letter. But please remember that you do not start your report like you started the letter with dear. In this case, dear Jenny Smith. In reports, we don't start with the address of the person. Also, we don't end reports with yours faithfully or yours sincerely, as you would in the letter. In reports, you shouldn't be doing this. Let's look at what you should be doing. You start by including the following information: who you're writing to, who is the person who reported, that is you. Here you should write your pen name. What is the subject of your report? And what is the date when you wrote your report? The first paragraph then gets the title Introduction. There you give reasons for writing the report. The body has a number of headed sections where you describe the data that you see in the table. The conclusion does two things. It summarizes the main points in the body and makes recommendations, or gives reasons, or gives a personal opinion. With our example, the task asked you to give reasons. So you don't need to worry about giving recommendations or giving personal opinions. Let's now turn to how the examiners mark essays and reports. The maximum number of points available is 16, as you know. And the examiners are going to be looking at task completion, organization, vocabulary, and grammar. While reading, they are looking for answers to particular questions. With task completion, they are asking, has the student covered all the points? With organization, they are thinking, how logical and well planned is the text? Looking at vocabulary, they ask, how wide and correct is the word use? And with grammar, The question is, how complex and correct are the structures? With each aspect, the maximum number of points that you can get is 4. Sometimes students ask, what is it really that I need to be doing during writing in order to be successful? What is the secret? Well, there are several things that you can think about. One thing definitely is that you need to complete both tasks. You need to write the letter and you need to finish the report or the essay. Before writing, read the instructions carefully. Really find out what is expected of you. Make plans. Plan your writing. There is a little bit of room for making notes, and use this rough notes section, if possible at all, to plan what you want to write about. There will be no time for you to write a rough copy and a clean copy, but there will be time to plan and make some notes as to how you want to organize your writing. Cover all the points that the task has asked you to cover. Give examples. Extend your answers. Write as much as you have been asked to write, but not very much more. Remember that you can lose points for a shorter answer, but you will not be able to get more points for an overly long answer. Remember that in both cases you are writing to a stranger, so be formal, be polite. In your writing, try to avoid short forms. Don't, isn't, can't, hasn't. Instead use do not, is not, cannot, has not, and so on. Once again, I'd like to remind you not to start and end essays and reports like letters, with dear and finishing yours sincerely or yours faithfully. Don't do that. And last but certainly not least, make your handwriting neat and clear. If the examiners cannot understand what you are saying, they are more likely to take off points. So, to guarantee success, make it easily understandable. Sometimes students ask, what if my answer is in the wrong place? What if I've written my letter to where the essay is supposed to be? And vice versa. In that case, just on top of your essay, write a short comment. This is my essay. Or on top of your letter, write the comment, this is my letter. Then the examiner knows what you intended to write. What if I do not have any ideas to write about? I don't think this can really happen. If you've been going to the classes, if you've been reading newspapers, watch television, talk to your friends and teachers, you probably know what young people are talking about. The topics of essays, letters, and reports are topics that young people often do talk about or do read about, or something that is often discussed in society. So it cannot be very complicated or something which you haven't thought about. What if I cannot remember a particular word? This can sometimes happen. Here, a good strategy is to paraphrase. Try to reword your ideas. You will not be able to use a dictionary in order to look up words, but what you can do is rethink what you plan to say and how you said it. What if I want to correct a word or a structure that I wrote? You can do that. Cross out the word that needs to be replaced or the structure that needs to be replaced and write the correct one on top of them. The examiners will ignore the crossed out word or the crossed out structure and only look at what's above it. What if I need more space to write my answer? This is something that you need to think about before starting to write. The examiners cannot give you additional paper. So what you have is what you can use. Try to fit your answer to the space that has been given to you. We've come to the end of our video training. We have been discussing a number of different points. We've looked at the structure of the writing test. We've considered the writing task descriptions. We've thought about how to complete the tasks. And you know now how different tasks are marked. We reviewed some of the things to remember during the writing test, and hopefully I've answered some of the typical student questions. At this point, I'd like to say thank you for watching this training video and wish you good luck at the examinations.